Welcome in, and thank you guys for joining us in episode 6 of From the Nosebleeds. Coming to you live from Trey's place again tonight. Got a lot to talk about since our last episode. Hadn't been that long, been about a week, but a lot's happened. Today we're going to touch on the NBA Finals. We'll hit the World Cup. Pump up World Cup. Go USA. Don't tread on me. And we'll touch lightly on the NHL playoffs. That was a really good 5-game series there between the Rangers and the Kings. And then also we'll talk about the most recent news with the Redskins controversy, and we'll hit the NBA draft. But let's go ahead and start with the NBA Finals. That was the biggest story over the weekend. Spurs just bent the Heat over. We watched every game together, and after game two, I thought that it was going to go 7. But I know when we initially started the playoffs, I called Spurs Heat, and I said Spurs in 6. So I was pretty damn close. If I do toot my own horn, but that series, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the Spurs beating them like that.
No,
15. They won 4 games, 4 out of 5, and they won them by 15 points or more.
No, that's ridiculous.
In the one game the Heat won, they beat the Spurs by 2 points.
Yeah.
In a game that the Spurs pretty much dominated and just couldn't finish it out.
Yeah. So, overall, the Spurs completely dominated the series. It was a shock to me, personally. To shut out the champs like that, it kind of looked like Spain out there.
Oh, shots fired. I don't know. I knew the Spurs were really good, but I guess we've just become so accustomed to the Heat winning titles.
Yeah.
They've been in the finals the past 4 years, so you can pretty much say the Heat are going to be in it every year, and nobody's going to question you. But they got beat down, and we talked about it in our last podcast going into Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
We said there was a couple X factors that you really need to watch, and I think we hit them right on the head. We said the player to watch was going to be Kawhi Leonard, and hot damn, he showed up.
He did. Best 3 games he's ever played in his life.
MVP of the series, and you said it, those last 3 games he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, and then throughout the whole series he averaged like 18 points a game. But he was the man for the Spurs.
He was just ruthless. I know.
The entire first half of Game 3, me and you were sitting there watching it, and our jaws were just on the floor.
Because he didn't miss a shot for like the first 10 minutes.
It was something stupid. 41 points in the first quarter. I wanted to just cut the TV off right there. But that was and the thing I said going into this was I didn't really want it to be a blowout series, kind of like the Spurs Oklahoma City was, which it ended up turning out to be. But it just had a different vibe to it. I guess it's just better when it's the Heat getting the shit kicked out of them. But when you see a team drop 41 in the first quarter, that's a blowout you want to be witnessing.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think they had it was 71-50 going into halftime in that game.
And their shooting percentage is the new record for that. Yeah. Was it the half they said was 76%, 76% or something like that?
Yeah, and they shot 90% in the first quarter.
Stupid.
I can't do that on NBA 2K14.
No, you could give me 2 shots and I couldn't do that well. You could give me 1 shot and I couldn't do that well.
But yeah, Kawhi Leonard stepped up, and then the X factors we said for the Heat needed to step up did not. We said Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade were going to be the guys that had to play big.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not some crazy prediction. Anybody could say that, but it's true. People are bashing LeBron, and that's just to be expected. But when you really look at the stats, and if you watch the games, this series loss is not on LeBron. This was on his supporting cast. Nobody. All the way down to Mario Chalmers.
Absolutely.
Wade and Bosh, they played really well in Game 2, but after that, it was like they weren't even out there.
Yeah.
Bosh played terrible. He's a guy that they rely on to be a threat from 3-point range just because he spreads the defense out with his length, and he just couldn't hit anything. The Spurs totally dominated him in every aspect, and it was fun to watch. If there was a lot of people coming into that series, they were a little mad that the Spurs were in it because they said they were the boring team because they're older players, and that just wasn't true. If you watch those games, it was a work of art.
Yes, it was absolutely beautiful. Just the movement. I mean, it was just. I mean, I get chills thinking about it right now. It was just unreal.
It was like you're watching like throwback Indiana Hoosiers play basketball. Like everybody on the team's got to touch the ball at least once before we shoot it, guys. Like it was just passing, pass. Nobody was holding the ball. Nobody was selfish. It didn't care. It just wasn't like anybody was playing an individual game out there. Nobody cared about their own stats. It was, well, I've got a shot, but if I pass it up to him, he's got a better shot. I don't really care if I get the points or not. It's just everybody was doing everything for the better of the team, and that's how team basketball is supposed to be played, and it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. I didn't want it to be a blowout. I mean, because I know I called Heat in 6, which I ended up being glad I was wrong, obviously, because I'm just tired of the Heat winning, but thank God it's over now. So, yeah, I know that I called Heat in 6, but I was just glad that it ended up being a pretty good series, and that even though the Spurs just dominated the entire thing, even after Game 3, I was still not sold on the Spurs taking it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they completely dominated, and they definitely took charge of the series with that. But you weren't convinced just because it is the Miami Heat, and they've been there the past 4 years. Everybody on that team has experience in the finals. You just kind of thought eventually something was going to click in their heads, and they were just going to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, and even after
at least take it 6 or 7.
Yeah, even after the second game they won in Miami, I still wasn't 100% convinced.
Yeah, it was kind of cool that I honestly didn't think they were going to get Game 5. I thought just the way the Heat play after a loss. I mean, I was surprised that they got Game 4 after the way they beat them in Game 3, but after 2 losses, I just had full faith in the Heat to get something to work, and they couldn't do it. But it was really cool watching the Spurs win it on their home court.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was cool. The atmosphere in that building was just electric. That place was shaking. Now that the series is over, though, there's been a lot of big questions out there. The biggest one is which big three is going to return. You've got questions on both sides of those teams. For the Spurs, I mean, we say it every year. They're old.
Yeah.
When are they gonna quit?
Yeah.
Especially guys like Tim Duncan. I mean, he's been in the league for 17 years now. Time to hang it up, buddy. You say that every year, but his performance just doesn't decline. It's like he's just staying at the peak of his career.
Yeah,
there's no decline.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would love to see him keep watching him play, but at the same time, it'd be kind of cool to see him go out on top with the championship. It's his 5th ring. I haven't really heard any stories coming out of San Antonio recently about what the decision is going to be on that. We'll probably have to wait a while. I'm sure he's just enjoying the ring and kind of taking some time off from basketball. It's kind of what happens, but that'll be interesting to see. Ginobili could also retire. I even heard a story that said Pop and Tim Duncan would retire together, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Greg Popovich he's just too much. He's a great coach. He's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches in NBA history.
Oh, yeah.
But then you've got the stories coming out of Miami. All 3 of the big 3 have options in their contracts to opt out and go into free agency this year. So obviously it's a big story with LeBron. Where's he going to go? Is he going to stay in Miami? Are we going to have another decision? Not 2, not 3, not 4. A lot of people saying the Cavs are a landing spot. Clippers got some money to spend. There's lots of landings.
Yeah.
The Knicks. You've got people
Lakers
talking
are
about
talking about him.
You got people talking about none of them leaving and then making it a big 4 with Carmelo. I think that's a pipe dream, and even if it did happen, I think it would be a train wreck. So you've got a lot of rumors coming out. So let's just try and sort through this all, and we'll give you what we kind of think will happen or what should happen. I'm honestly on the fence with the LeBron thing. I don't know if he stays or goes.
Yeah,
he says
too.
he's got to do some soul searching. Sounds queer, but whatever. Um, I mean, I kind of think it'd be cool to see him in Cleveland, but I also listening to some shows the other day, got kind of I don't know, it kind of changed my mind. From the beginning, I've been thinking it'd be cool if he went back to Cleveland, but I heard somebody talking yesterday about it, and they kind of said, I feel like that would be the biggest slap in the face ever to Cleveland, just
Yes.
because you left them. You said, all right, you guys aren't really good enough to get it done right now. I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to win some rings. And then, hey, now
I'll be back. I'll be back though.
now you're looking at Cleveland. It's like, hey, they got Kyrie Irving. They got some pieces over there. We could probably. I've got some. He's got more than he had when he was there, especially with a guy like Kyrie Irving running point. Say, hey, I could probably win a title with you guys now. I think I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to come back and win some titles. These Heat things getting a little old. So he's kind of just, he would just look like a ring chaser, but at the same time, I liked LeBron when he was in Cleveland. Like when his career was just starting and he was in Cleveland was when I liked him the most, and then the decision really turned me off of him.
Yeah.
And it's just been recently that I've kind of come around full circle, and I'm starting to like him now, but I can't stand the Heat. Like, I like the individual players on the Heat. I like Wade. I like LeBron. Don't really care about Bosch that much. I mean, he's fun to make fun of. But as a whole, I can't stand their fan base, and I'm tired of seeing them in the championship every year.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked it when he was in Cleveland, a smaller market team. It was just fun to root for. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm about the same way. I've never really been a LeBron fan. I recognize that he's the best player in the world. I'm not one of those people that's going to there's no way Kobe's better. No.
Kobe's not better. He's the greatest in the world right now. He's going to go down as top 3 at least.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys, but I don't know. I like to look at this sounds hipster, but it's kind of too mainstream for me.
Okay.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, it's just I never really like to root for the guy that's always going to win unless I've always been a fan of that team.
Kentucky.
Exactly. But so for example, I picked someone like Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I'm on the hopping on the Kawhi bandwagon.
Yes,
Give me my ticket.
I mean, I hopped on his bandwagon at the beginning of this, not the beginning of the series, at the beginning of the playoffs. I don't really know why. I said a few podcasts ago has his cornrows. That's why. But
he kind of gives you a guy that I can relate this to. I have the same. I like him a lot, and it's kind of for similar reasons. Was when he was with Thunder, I still like him with the Rockets. Was James Harden?
Yes.
It's kind of. I mean, Kawhi's a starter, but James Harden was that. He was that bench player that the Thunder relied on, and I mean, he's good enough to be a starter, as you can see in Houston. He's just, I don't know, he's charismatic. I mean, Kawhi's a real humble guy. He's not in your face, saying I'm the best. He just goes out there, plays his role, and he plays it exceptionally well, and he's a guy that's easy to root for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, I don't know, it's just fun to watch him play. It's fun, especially those last 3 games.
Yeah, especially Game 3.
Yeah, for sure.
When a guy is shooting like that, I mean, it was like the Heat were trying to shoot it into a Coke can, and Kawhi was shooting it into the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, exactly. But as far as who stays, who goes, I don't know. I've got this itching feeling in the back of my head that LeBron leaves.
I think LeBron right now you could flip a coin. It's 50-50. If they land some players in free agency, or if they just offer him a deal he can't pass up, I could see him staying in Miami. But there's a chance that the whole Miami roster just gets overhauled, because I was reading today, 14 out of the 15 players on Miami's roster are either up, their contracts have either expired and they're up for free agency, or they have options in their contract where they can go.
The only one that stays is Norris Cole.
Yeah,
because I don't think his contract's up until next year or something like that.
So I mean, a lot of players are gonna re-sign, I'm sure, because it's the Miami Heat. But I think LeBron, he's pretty much 50-50 right now. I'm not gonna be surprised in the slightest if he goes, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he stayed. But as far as Wade and Bosch go, I think Wade don't think I'm going to see Wade in anything but a Heat jersey the rest of his career.
I don't think so either.
And then same thing for Bosch, because the Bosch is a little bit different. I think he stays in Miami because I believe if he stays in Miami, he thinks, and he's probably right, that if he stays in Miami with these guys, he's going to retire and he'll be a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
If he goes somewhere else and he doesn't put up numbers like he was in Toronto, because a lot of people don't remember, but when he was playing in Toronto, he was putting up fat stats. He was putting up like 20 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hasn't had those kind of numbers in Miami, but he's also the third wheel. But he's been a big factor in these in their championship runs. So if he were to leave in free agency and go somewhere else, for him to have a Hall of Fame career, he would have to reproduce what he was doing in Toronto. He would be the number one guy.
Yeah,
most likely.
He would have to change himself into a number one guy. I think after D-Wade's injury and how he was out last season, but I know that Bosch had to take on a bigger role there. So I even think that he kind of surpassed Dwayne Wade as this guy in second command right under LeBron James.
Yeah, Wade's career it's just going downhill.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably got 2, maybe 3 years left in him. But I could see a career-ending injury coming up because he's just so injured the past couple years. Every year during the regular season, he spends a lot of time on the bench just with some kind of nagging injury. So he's kind of on the downhill.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they all 3 came back. And somebody who's been in the news recently talking about him is Heat President Pat Riley. He had some comments, and we'll link it to this video where you guys can go look at it. But he made some pretty interesting comments to the media. I believe it was 2 days ago. We'll let you guys listen to that in the video, but we'll go ahead and talk about what he said. And basically, the biggest quote that was out in the media was he said that everybody needs to get a grip. The Heat organization, the players, the fans, everybody just needs to get a grip because they're overreacting. Basically, is what he's saying. They just lost an NBA Finals, yes, but they've been to the finals the past 4 years. They've won 2 out of 4. This is not the end of the world. This is not like you're the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Philadelphia 76ers. You're not like the NBA Finals are not a pipe dream. Like, you're right there. You obviously have the pieces to get there. You just need a little push to keep on winning them. I mean, this team is a dynasty, and I don't think anybody's going to question that. So they are kind of like LeBron saying he needs to do some soul searching. I think he's overreacting. He needs to figure out where he wants to go, if he wants to stay in Miami and continue this run. If LeBron stays, the other 2 are definitely staying.
Yeah.
If he goes, I mean, I'm pretty sold that Bosch and Wade will be back for the Heat. It's really just a question of LeBron. So, I mean, he needs to figure out what he wants to do. If he wants to go back to Cleveland, if he wants to go somewhere else, like the Clippers, or I don't know. There's a lot of people around trade talks. Kevin Love's been a lot of trade rumors. But yeah, Pat Riley had some interesting quotes that he came out with. We'll let you guys be the judge of what you think of that. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't know. I don't think he's wrong in saying that everybody kind of needs to chill out. Just because, I mean, coming from 2 big name teams, Alabama and Kentucky, we obviously get pretty angry when our teams don't produce. I mean, I know our 2013 season in basketball, I was furious.
That was rough.
Absolutely furious. And especially when Nerlens Noel went down against Florida, I was furious. And especially when we lost to Robert Morris in the NIT. I never wanted a season to be over more in my entire life. But, on the other hand, I think the Heat organization and the Heat, the players especially, because I know LeBron came out and said something about this, I think they're taking it too lightly. I think they're taking a loss too lightly. I mean, they just they just lost. Not only did they lose, they got their asses kicked. 4-1 in the series. The Spurs won 15. They won by 15 points in all of their wins.
Yeah.
And they're coming out. It's not a big deal, guys. We're here all the time. Yeah, I get that. And they, like you said, they probably are a dynasty. But they need to come up and own. They need to own up to this and says, we've got some changes that we need to make. If we can win one game against the Spurs and then just get destroyed in the other 4, they've got some changes they need to make.
Yeah,
and they need to acknowledge that.
And the comparison you make is between last year's Spurs. I mean, this was a rematch series. Last year, the Spurs had Game 6 in the bag. They were going to close the Heat out and win the finals. Ray Allen comes out of nowhere, saves the Heat's ass, and then you're in a Game 7 and the Heat win it in 7. But the Spurs weren't like, oh, I need to do some soul searching. I might retire. I don't know. It was, we're going to grind this offseason. We're going to be the best in the NBA in the regular season. We'll see the Heat again, and we're going to take care of business. And that is exactly what they did.
Exactly. And that's just, and the Heat aren't doing that at all.
Yeah,
they're coming out here and just playing it cool. It's not a big deal, guys. We'll be here again next year. See you later.
Yeah. And the Spurs had revenge on their mind 100% the entire year. And then that was just like this. It was within a week of losing. You could tell from the comments they were making in the media that they wanted to get back here, and they wanted to get back here against the Heat and prove that they could finish them off. And they did just that. And the Heat now are in the position the Spurs were last year, and they're just kind of, I'm going to go take a vacay with the fam.
Exactly.
See what I feel. I might be back, might not. So it's just a strange situation. Other news in the NBA is 1 week. We got the NBA draft. Big time for Timberwolves fans and 76ers, Cavs, which the Cavs aren't, I mean, they were much improved this year. And for them to get the number 1 overall pick in 3 years, they got to be coming close to making a finals run soon. I mean, they botched last year's first overall with Anthony Bennett. He didn't really do anything this year, but you got a solid group of guys coming out in this draft. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, and you've got Jabari Parker, Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid. Those are your 3 guys that you're deciding on, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Me, personally, the guy I like the best is, he doesn't have the highest ceiling, I don't think, but he's definitely the safest pick, and he's the most NBA ready right now. Like, if you want to make an NBA run next season, he's probably the guy that I want on my team, and that's Jabari Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching him play at Duke, he's got the whole package. He's a great guard, and if you were to get a guy like LeBron, I think that really needs to be in the Cavs' mind, is who is going to play well with LeBron. I mean, you're not guaranteed you're going to get him, but I don't think it's crazy to kind of plan this draft pick around somebody that would complement LeBron, and maybe that means they lean towards a guy like Joel Embiid, who's a big guy, so you got LeBron, a big man to help him out. But I like Jabari Parker personally, and Wiggins. I think Wiggins has the highest ceiling. He's got the most potential, but he's also next to Embiid. They're just about both equally risky.
Yeah.
I mean, Wiggins is probably going to have a good career. Why not? Nobody really knows how these works out. Big men are a luxury to have, but it's also such just a shoot in the dark when you're taking them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could be all-stars and they could be busts. I mean, look at guys like Greg Oden.
Yeah.
Everybody thought he was going to be a stud coming out of Ohio State, and he has been an absolute dud. I mean, you saw him sitting on the Heat bench this year just in a suit because I feel like that dude's always on crutches. I actually saw a meme on Twitter of Greg Oden looking out onto the stands at Game 5, and it said, "This looks like LeBron traveled through time, came back and watched the series, and forgot that he lost." I mean, it's funny. everybody pokes fun at him, but I mean, you do feel bad for the guy. He had a really promising career ahead of him, and he's just been plagued by injuries like I've never even seen before. You hate it for him, but
Yeah.
but that's just the thing with big man. That's the risk he running, is some of them are injury prone, and some of them just don't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually you catch lightning in a bottle, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
So if I'm picking number one, I'd probably take Jabari Parker. What about you?
I think Jabari Parker's a good pick. I think overall it's either going to be one of the Kansas boys, Joel Embiid or Andrew Wiggins. But a point that I wanted to address is how, well, aside from Joel Embiid, because he didn't play very much in the NCAA tournament overall.
Yeah, he didn't play.
Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker both could not come in clutch for their teams when it mattered. Because Andrew Wiggins, when they lost, who did they lose to? Who did Kansas lose to? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Off the top of my head.
March is way too far away.
Yeah, but I know for a fact, because I was shocked, because Andrew Wiggins didn't do anything. I think he scored 2 points.
Yeah, he played really poorly.
And it was the same way for Jabari Parker. He scored 2 points, 4 points maybe. Yeah. Just nothing. And when your team needs you, that's when you have to come up and be the guy. I mean, granted, they're not going to have to do that right away in the NBA, but I still think that's something that you kind of look at. And
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, those are the guys you look at to come in clutch, but at the same time, there's 4 other guys on the court that need to step up. You can't rely on somebody to just carry you through the NCAA tournament every year. Like, the other 4, or at least 2 or 3 other guys, have to step up, especially when your all-star teammate is having a bad night. I mean, everybody's got bad nights. You got to rely on your teammates to step up, and both of those teams, the team as a whole, just played really poorly in both of those games.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. You want to have somebody who's got a clutch team.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. I was we can talk about my Kentucky boys.
Yeah, I've heard Randall's going to the Lakers. Which, I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool to see him in a.
But I mean, I think the Lakers have the 10th pick, so they've got him projected as top 10. I could see somebody taking a shot at him early, but he's got injury questions too, something with his foot. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's all suspect and rumors.
Oh, and
also
Joel Embiid had foot surgery, I think, today.
Yeah, I mean, he was rumored literally like 2 days ago to be the number 1 overall pick, and then now he's got surgery. Do you want to go on? Do you want to take a risk on him? So I mean, it's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors. You just got to kind of see through it, and really can't. You just got to wait and see what happens. My pick would be Jabari Parker, but who knows what the Cavs are going to do? I mean, I'm sure nobody said they were going to take Anthony Bennett last year, and they did. So we'll see. That's I think it's 1 week from today, and then
the 26th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got that coming up, and then you've also. We can go ahead and hit on the NHL playoffs real quick. Another 5-game series that ended the night after the Heat got obliterated by the Spurs. The Kings took it in 5 against the Rangers. But, I mean, I'm not going to dive too deep into the details of it just because, honestly, neither of us are hockey aficionados. Like, we watched that last game, but really we're definitely just the common fans in that. We'll watch the playoffs. I mean, I like watching playoff hockey just because there's a lot on the line, and those guys are just beating the hell out of each other, giving it their all. It was a fun game to watch, and really, when you can, both of them were 5-game series, and usually when you say a series went 5 games, it means one team got slaughtered, kind of like the Heat did. That was your typical 5-game series. The Heat squeaked out a win in Game 2 and then got slapped in the other 4 games.
Yeah.
But it was not the case for the Kings-Rangers game. The Rangers lost in 5, but they put up a hell of a fight. They kind of choked away the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Both of the first 2 games went to overtime. And then Game 3, they got beat pretty handily.
3-0.
They came back, won Game 4, And then in Game 5, it was another just nail-biter all the way down to the end.
Double overtime.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can't say that the Rangers just absolutely got slaughtered. The Kings they were the better team. They came in clutch, especially in those first 2 games. But it was a fun series to watch.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, if you'd have said, hey, the Kings are going to win 5, I'm like, oh, that's kind of boring. But it was a 5-game series, but I think in total, when you add in the overtimes, they played almost 7 games, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
So if you're a hockey fan, that was fun to watch. I know the NHL draft's coming up. I got nothing for you. Sorry.
There's somebody good.
Hopefully the Preds find an offensive player.
There you go.
So there's our good minute of hockey. And now we'll transition into what me and you are all in on right now. World Cup, baby. World Cup. USA.
I believe that weekend win.
Finally. Holy God. Beat the freaking Ghana. Oh my God. We were watching that game together, and well, you missed the first goal. We won't talk about that. Trey had to work. Got off at 5 o'clock. Game obviously started at 5. Dad decided not to record the game. We were watching it without him.
They scored at 5:01.
Yeah. So Trey missed the opening goal. He was pretty heated. But those of us who were watching it live were hype as fuck. And from that moment on, I was like, we got this. But in the back of your mind, all USA soccer fans know that USA has this special, unique trait about them where they just piss you off every World Cup, especially against Ghana. So anytime you think they've got it, even if it's a goal with 40 seconds into it, I mean, you know that there's a lot to play on. I wasn't sitting there thinking we're going to win this 1-0, obviously. But then as the game went on, you're like, I mean, Ghana was playing really well. USA ended up winning that game off an incredibly clutch goal off of probably the last guy you would have expected to, John Brooks, who leading into this World Cup has played like absolute garbage. I mean, I honestly was surprised that he made the roster. But glad he did.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, overall, USA played really bad in that game.
Yeah, they really did.
But at the end of the day as well, on the flip side, we got the 3 points, and that's really what we needed.
Yeah.
With 3 points, I mean, we're definitely not a lock to make it out of the group still. This is still a group of death. We've got to play Portugal on Sunday. But our chances are significantly better, especially news coming down. Ronaldo most likely out for the remainder of the World Cup. Yep. So it always helps when the best player in the world's not playing. But we'll touch on the Portugal game in a second. Back to the Ghana game, we just played after we scored that goal. I mean, that's a huge momentum thing, and some teams have a bad habit, and I mean, we definitely fell victim to it. I think it was part of Klinsmann's game plan as well, though, because we didn't really change it coming out of the halftime. When we scored that first goal, we just kind of dropped back and were sitting on our heels and played really defensive. We had 9, sometimes even 10 guys behind the ball playing defense. And we were just kind of like our only hope to score after that first goal was to maybe catch Ghana on a quick counter, string some passes together and get something going. Like we had, until Ghana hit that equalizer, we probably had 2, maybe 3 chances to put one in the net. Like we just didn't even really see their 18 or their half very often. We just kind of dropped it back and said, we're going to play some prevent defense right here and hope they don't score. Let's squeak out a 1-0 win. It was honestly, like, for people who don't like soccer and only watch the World Cup because it's pretty exciting, that wasn't the best game to watch.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's and it's definitely frustrating as a soccer fan and somebody that's played soccer for a while to watch that, just because everyone knows that soccer can change on a dime.
I mean, and it did twice in that game. 3 times, really, just from the opening goal. I mean, it went from kickoff to bam, USA 1-0. We've got control of this. Let's go to we're playing kind of shitty, and then towards the end you're like, well, we might hold on, and then bam, Ghana scores, and it was like every American in the States was just like,
"Yep, here we go.
Saw it coming. We're going to get 1 point, and we're going to be screwed, and we're not going to make it out of the group. Because if we tie that game, I guarantee we don't get out. Because we have to beat Portugal, and we have to muster up at least probably a tie against Germany.
Yeah.
With right now, I think our chances are we've got the 3 points. We're tied for first with Germany. They're leading us just because of goals scored. But I honestly think we could at least get a tie out of Portugal. I think a win isn't out of the question.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. Especially how Portugal played against Germany. And without Ronaldo, it'll definitely be interesting to see. I'd like to see I haven't seen anything on Josie Altidore to see if he's going to be back or not.
Yeah, they said when he went down, they said news should be out tomorrow, and it's really just been kind of a mystery. Like I heard the day after on Tuesday. I mean, I listened to Tim Howard and Landon Donovan both on the Dan Patrick show. Neither of them had heard anything or knew what was going to happen, and still, as of today, there's been no news. Like,
yeah, you feel like that would be a headline on ESPN.
they're just kind of. I mean, I guess I could see Klinsman's reasoning if they do know something about it. I mean, I could see not wanting to tip your hat to Portugal so they could game plan against it or anything.
Well,
but
yeah, we know that Ronaldo's probably not going to play. So.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe they don't know. I mean, maybe he's just really questionable. Maybe he's just been taking this week off and trying to just not do anything and hope it kind of heals up. Because I did hear that it wasn't. I mean, you heard coming out of halftime or something that preliminary exam showed that it wasn't pulled. It was a strained hamstring. It hadn't been pulled. So I think that's good news. Maybe some rest. Maybe we don't get him back for Portugal, but maybe we get him back for Germany.
Yeah, maybe. I like, what was his name? Oh man, I forgot his replacement.
Johansson?
Johansson, yeah. He didn't play amazing, but he played pretty well coming off the bench, and
especially for the circumstances.
Yes.
Like, some people if you don't watch soccer, that's an extremely uncommon thing, especially on this big a stage. Normally, when you sub in, you know you're going to sub in for at least 15, 20 minutes, and you're on the sidelines warming up, stretching, getting your muscles ready. Josie just went down and it was like, hey, you're up. No stretching, no running. It's just get in and go. This is the World Cup. We're playing Ghana.
Yeah.
We need to win.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Surprise.
Yeah.
It's like you thought. He's like, he didn't even. The thing is, for me, like how I picture is, he isn't even in. He's not even really there yet.
Yeah.
Until he steps on the field, everybody's looking at him now.
Yeah. And that was his first World Cup game ever in his career. Like, he's a young kid. So I
think he said he was like
my pants
20
on
or
the sideline
something
before I came in.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, that was just ridiculous. But glad to see
the monkey is finally off our back with Ghana. For all we know, we could be the reason they get eliminated. And good. Screw you, Ghana.
Screw you, Ghana.
Nobody in America likes Ghana. I don't even think I would go on a mission trip to Ghana. I mean that with 100% sincerity. Screw you, people.
Screw you, people.
But I mean, that just felt so good to get that win, especially in dramatic fashion like that. Because that's kind of how they've beaten us, is in dramatic fashion. They've gotten some crap goal at the end of the game, and they beat us, and we're done, and we're just left for 4 years pissed off. But I mean, coming into this World Cup, hopes were very low.
Yeah,
very low.
It was. My hopes was literally beat Ghana.
Yeah,
that was my hopes.
Yeah,
so
I mean that
now everything's up.
Like honestly, I mean, if you most Americans coming into this World Cup saw that group draw, and we were just like, well, this will be a good World Cup if we can just beat the hell out of Ghana, and we did. So now we're all pretty happy. But now, I mean, looking at the way Portugal got their butt kicked against Germany, you're like, we might have a chance against Germany. If I mean, most definitely. It's obvious if we get the win, we're in. So winning, we're into the knockout stage, which would be amazing for USA to get out of the group stage in this group of death would be impeccable, and that's a good mark on Klinsman's resume.
Yeah, definitely.
He's kind of back into America's good graces because he's kind of on our shit list with the comments he made coming into the World Cup saying we have 0% chance to win, which, I mean, if we're being real, I totally agree with him. Our chances to win are probably 0. But you don't say that.
Yeah. Like we said last time, you don't say that out loud.
You can let us say that.
Yeah.
Let the two goons running a podcast say we have 0% chance of winning. Not the head coach of the U.S. men's national team to a national media a week before the World Cup. You're an idiot. But overall, outside of just USA, this has been an amazing World Cup.
Oh, yeah. So many goals.
Sorry about that, guys. Trey's dad came in. It's whatever, not a big deal. We'll edit that. So, back to what we were saying, though, is they've looked really, America's the only reason they're even in this World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we beat somebody so that they got in, and they played like garbage in the qualifiers, but now that they're here and it's World Cup time,
game time, baby,
they're playing well. They might make it through the knockout stage. Honestly, if I had to guess, I would say they do advance into the knockout stages, but I mean, anything could really happen.
Yeah.
And then the final team that's been really surprising is Holland, Netherlands, Dutch, whatever you want to call them.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they were really good. I mean, obviously they made it to the World Cup finals in the last World Cup. But if you were going to pick a team between Spain or Holland, which team was older and just didn't really have it left in them, I would have said Holland. But
I mean,
they throttled Spain.
Oh, my God.
5-1. And then they came out with Australia, kind of gave them a pretty good game, but I mean, still 3-2. That's a solid outing for Holland.
Yeah.
And they're through into knockout stages, and who's to say that they're not going to keep going? And then another team you might want to add to the list today, if we're looking at teams you could possibly see making it to the finals right now, I think you could go ahead and throw France in the mix. Benzema's playing out of his mind.
Yeah, he is.
They just stomped Switzerland, who's a pretty solid defensive team, but you wouldn't know by the looks of this last game. They just won 5-2. Sure. Benzema's got, I think he's got 3 or 4 goals on the tournament.
I think it's 3. So
he's playing extremely well, and if they can get that kind of play out of their top guy, then who's to say they don't make a deep run? Argentina's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Holland, Brazil, obviously.
Germany
looked pretty dominant. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the World Cup shapes up. You guys should, if you haven't already, just tune in. Just watch a game. Don't watch like Bosnia or something. Or even like Ecuador, Honduras playing right now. Watch a good game. Watch USA Portugal. Have some patriotism.
Like, I ask people all the time, it's like, are you going to watch the game? No. What do you mean no? This happens once. It's like the Olympics. It happens once every 4 years.
If you need some convincing, go to our website, fromthenosebleedsports.wordpress.com. I wrote an article on it today on why Americans should love the World Cup. Go check it out. It's pretty funny. It's not me ranting about why the World Cup is so amazing and you're a snob if you don't like soccer. It's pretty comedic. Go give it a look. Check out our Twitter page, at FTNB Podcast on Twitter. Tweet out a lot of stuff there. Getting some more followers, I've noticed. Appreciate that. Make sure you guys are sending us some feedback.
Yeah, and we've got the stuff on YouTube now, so make sure you guys comment.
Follow our YouTube channel. Just type, if you want to just find our channel, just in the search box, just type in From the Nosebleeds Podcast.
Yeah, and I think it comes up. You can kind of subscribe to our channel there and give us some feedback on how we're doing and just what you guys want to hear about, what you guys, some feedback even on what we could do better. Or
if there's something we haven't talked about in these past 6 episodes or something that's going on in the media you'd like to talk about, tweet us. I mean, we respond to just about everybody that tweets us, unless you're just an asshole. And even then, I might tweet you back and say, hey, screw you. But one more topic we want to touch on, just getting a lot of pub lately in the past couple days. Over in D.C., those Redskins, Dan Snyder.
Wait, hold on.
Again.
You can't say that word.
Sorry.
You can't say that
did I offend you?
Yeah, you offended me by saying it.
Because you're totally not Native American. But yeah, we're so offended, and that's my issue with this. It's us crackers. It's white people, black people, anybody. they're all saying they're so offended by this name all of a sudden because that is what is popular to do in 2014 now, is to be offended. Everything offends everyone. I could say the sky is blue and they'd say, no, screw you, it's not. I'm offended. And that's what pisses me off, is everybody's got to have a stance on something, and it can never just be positive or neutral. It's always got to be negative, and I'm so hurt, my butt hurts. Get over it. The Redskins have been around forever, and nobody said anything until the past few years when it's become a trend to be offended by everything. And honestly, you can't have an opinion on this negative or even really positive unless you are a Native American. I personally don't really have a problem with it, but it's not my position to have a problem with it. If a big, large group of Native Americans wants to come out and say that this is a derogatory term and they're extremely offended by this, and that is the overwhelming majority of the Native American population, I'll take that side.
Yep.
I'll be
done. Change it.
Yes.
End of story.
But honestly, you've got a couple of these Native American people coming out saying they're offended by it. But if you actually do your research, instead of just looking at one article or listening to Skip Bayless or something, and you actually look at the research between these Native American cultures and population, the vast majority of them don't care, and they think it's pretty cool that they have an NFL team named after
their people, I guess.
Yeah, their culture, their people. So, and that's my take, is if it's a problem with them, then okay, we need to change it. That's not cool. But if they don't really have a problem with it, then what's the big deal?
I think it's all about what's politically correct nowadays.
And that's the buzzword lately. And with what I was kind of saying is everybody's offended. Oh, that's not right. That's not politically correct.
Well,
who cares?
It's because, and people make up things that should be politically correct when political correctness just depends on what people believe.
Yes, it's political correctness can swing one way or the other depending on the majority of the population. Which is exactly what I was just saying, is if the majority of the Native American population doesn't like the term Redskins and they want it to be changed, change it. If not, then it's been fine for this many years. It's going to be fine going on. Just get out of it. Just let the government and Roger Goodell need to get their heads out of their asses and get out of this story and just let it be. If you really want to get involved, then send out a mass survey to all the Native American populations, like the chiefs of every tribe, and get their take on it. Do a poll. Have it be the official vote. If the majority of them say, man, that's offensive, we really want to get rid of that, it's a derogatory term, change the name. If the majority of them say, nah, bro, we're cool with it, then
leave it alone.
Let it be, and I don't ever want to hear about it again because I'm really tired of this surfacing in the media every 6 months. It pops up with something different. So that's our take on that. Not gonna. I mean, we ranted a little bit, just 'cause it just pisses me off. But thanks for joining us this week. Hopefully, we'll be back early next week hopefully by Tuesday or so. We're really trying to get the wheels rolling on this and crank out more episodes faster because, I mean, sometimes it's just hard to coordinate our schedules together. That's why Hunter wasn't with us this episode. He had to work. It's just difficult to coordinate sometimes. We're going to try and crank them out, even if we can't have all three of us here. It'll at least be me and Trey or me and Hunter. We'll get it going because we don't want to have you guys waiting. So come join us next time. Thanks for joining us this time. Hit us up on Twitter at FTNB Podcast. We'll see you guys later.